and welcome to Running Denver, Season 2, Episode 3. I'm your host, Melissa Minsick, and I'll be flying solo today as Lonnie couldn't join us. We have a great show lined up for you today. First, I'm going to be talking to my friend and also a blind ultra runner and triathlete, Jason Romero. He's got an amazing and very inspiring story, and he's got some really incredible things coming up you're going to want to hear about. And after that, we're going to talk to David Manthey with Runner's Edge of the Rockies and also the Bear Trail Race Series, and he's going to give us some tips for running in the winter. Before we get to that though, can you guess where we are today? Just to give you a quick hint, it's 80 acres and it's also Denver's third largest as well as its newest park. Can you guess where we are? Come back and find out. Welcome back. Did you guess where we are? As you can see from the tower behind me, we're in Stapleton Central Park. This whole area of Stapleton, as well as the park, was built where the old Stapleton Airport stood until 1995 when DIA opened. The control tower is the only remaining part of the old Stapleton Airport. It's kind of funny to think how just about 20 years ago, all this area where we're standing right now probably used to be a runway. Now the park is very well known for sledding, jogging, biking, all kinds of things. There's a couple of larger areas for team sports, and there's a really cool Dr. Seuss inspired playground. So come check it out sometime if you're not familiar. But stay tuned. When we come back, I'm going to be talking to Jason Romero. He's a really, really cool guy. You're not going to want to miss this. I'm here with my friend and ultra runner, Jason Romero. Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about your diagnosis, first of all? Because people can see here that you have your outfit, your running outfit on, and you're wearing kind of a cloth here that says blind on it. So tell us about that and how everything came about with that.
Sure. So it's kind of an interesting thing, but I always wear it. I'm legally blind. And with that, it doesn't mean that I don't have light perception, because I do have light perception, but a person is legally blind when they have visual acuity that's less than 2200. So my visual acuity kind of fluctuates between 2200 and 2400 depending on the day, sleep, fatigue, just a variety of different factors. And then also your field of vision. So people have peripheral vision. You can also be legally blind if you have a field of vision which is 20 degrees or less. So my field of vision is like 15 degrees. So I look at you, I kind of see like around like that, like I'm looking through a tunnel. So I have what's called retinitis pigmentosa, and I was diagnosed when I was 14 years old in those good old school screening. I went to a screening, and one of the nurses said that I couldn't see, and I thought she was nuts because I was seeing just fine. And we went to a specialist, and after a few appointments, we got to a fella, and he looked in my eyes and said I had retinitis pigmentosa. I didn't know what that was. And his next question, I asked him, what is that? And his next question to me was, well, what do you want to do when you get older? And I told him, I'm going to be a doctor, a lawyer. Me and my brother would be the first kids to go to college and all that. And I was programmed by my mom that we were going to do something with our lives. And he looked at me and said, forget about that. You're going to be blind by the time you're 30. It's like another 15, 16 years. And learn to do something with your hands. Most blind people are unemployed, and you got to start adapting now. And the nice thing was that I was a teenager, and I didn't believe any adult about anything. So I just ignored him and continued on with my life. And, fast forward from 14 to now, I'm 45, so it's 30 years later. And it's a degenerative eye condition, so my sight has decreased quite a bit to right now. Like I said, I'm legally blind, so I see about 2400, about a 15-degree field of vision. I'm night blind, so at nighttime, I look more like a traditional, or I think what people would think of being blind, basically with little to no light perception. I walk around, I'm kind of bumping into things, got a hand out, I use a cane. I use actually a really strong headlamp at nighttime to do that as well. But that's my story with the blind sign and retinitis pigmentosa, and it's been quite a journey going from kind of the sighted world now into the low vision, and now into legally blind, and eventually someday into non-sighted.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into ultra running?
So I've always kind of liked running, but this habit or obsession as it's developed kind of began in 2007, and I was on an assignment in Puerto Rico with General Electric, and I was running a business there for them. And I have 3 children. One of my children has been diagnosed with autism. And there really wasn't a school there. We had patchworked together a solution to make sure that he got the services that he needed and kind of the educational supports, but there wasn't a school. So when it came time for him to go to school, we decided, let's start a school. And we started a school for Sage and other kiddos around there, and we needed to raise money. So that's kind of how it began. It began with an effort and an attempt to raise money for the school, and that started out with basically a marathon. And then after I did that initial marathon in 2007, there was the Las Vegas Marathon. Then it kind of just progressed from there and went on to the Boston Marathon, and then to triathlons and Ironmans. And then I got back to Colorado, and the year I was turning 40, I was actually going through a divorce, which was extremely difficult for me, and I kind of turned to running as my therapy. And on January 1st, I was going to turn 40, and I said, I'm going to go run 40 miles today because I'll turn 40 this year. And that was the most painful thing I think I've ever done in my life because I wasn't equipped or trained to run ultras. And I went out, and I remember I wrote a note to my kids that they still have. We have special boxes, and I see it in their special box. They still have it. And I signed up that year for what's called Leadman, and that's a series of 5 races in Leadville, including the Leadville 100 run. And I got through the first 4, which is the trail marathon, and then I did the 50-mile bike, the 100-mile bike. There's a Leadville 10K, and I got to mile 85 of the 100. So I call myself Lead Boy. But that was really the beginning, and since then, 2010, I've just went on and I run all over the place, it seems.
You do. I know this much. That's very true. So you recently also started a documentary that's called Running Vision. What is Running Vision? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I was, earlier this year in 2015, there was a race across Puerto Rico that I had heard about through just reading local ultra running blogs. And it turned out that a group was going to try to run across Puerto Rico. And I had lived there for 6 years, and I love the island, and my heart's there. So I found out who the race director was. It was a select invited group, and I begged the guy to let me in. And after a talk, I was one of 8 runners that was going to do it. So what happened was a young enterprising filmmaker decided that seemed like a really cool thing to be part of. And what I told him was, well, you can film it, but you also be part of my crew and help me to finish it, and we can collaborate on that. So this young man, Taylor Shane, basically went down to Puerto Rico, and he did a documentary of what I thought was going to be about the race, but it turned out to be, I guess, probably kind of half about the race, then half about me. And it really chronicled moving across Puerto Rico, but also the journey kind of living a life where you're going blind. And so it's called Running Vision. Just had its first Denver premiere a few weeks back, and it will be available, I think, on DVD and then on an online format in the future, but the filmmaker's working on that right now.
So running across Puerto Rico, running entirely across a whole country was not enough, so now you're going to run across America.
It's called Vision Run USA, and we have a website too, visionrunusa.com. And I'm going to run from Los Angeles to Boston, starting in late March of 2016. And the plan there is to run 50 miles a day, nonstop, with no break, and hopefully be able to finish just a little over 60 days to be able to cross there. And right now I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to do it. I have no idea how I'm going to fund the thing. I have no idea how to train for the thing. I have no idea how I'm going to be supported going across desert. I'm charting the route right now, but this is like the ultra of all ultras, and not just in the running component, but the planning, the logistics, just going seriously into the unknown and having no idea what's going to happen. But I'm going to make it happen.
So running, has been a coping mechanism. You helped to get a school started to help out your son and a lot of other kids. It's done a lot of things for you in terms of getting through some personal challenges and helping other people as well. What has it taught you?
Running has probably, next to my kids, has probably had the biggest impact on my life. I think that I can identify. And it's all of those little one-word things that we all sit back and reflect on for what we should be. Running has helped me to develop and grow my faith, because there's times when, frankly, running is not a solitary thing. Although we think this body is just ours, it's not, and we're not here on this earth by ourselves. So always knowing that there's always something else with me, and basically God is helping to get me from point A to point B, and it's not the body, it's having faith. It's even more than the body and mind. It's taught me patience. Whenever there are very, very difficult times when it looks like you can't take that next step, your feet are blistered up, or you think you may have broken something or strained something, or you're hobbling, or you're vomiting, or whatever, or a car hits you, or whatever may happen, if you have patience and you can clear your mind, things will get better, and things always do get better, and it's a metaphor for life.
So where can everybody learn more about what you're doing? I know you have a couple of websites. Would you mind sharing those with us quickly?
Sure. So the primary website for me and for what I do now, which is motivational speaking and some other additional consulting stuff, is relentlessromero.com. And then there's a website for the Run Across America which is basically a website to try to help build support, sponsorship, and for tracking the run, and that's visionrunusa.com.
Okay.
And then there's a Facebook page, and I'm trying to get as many likes as possible, because more likes and sharing, the more that folks will sponsor, and we'll be able to try to get some support there. And that's facebook.com/visionrunusa.
Great.
And if there's one other thing that I could mention too,
Absolutely.
for Vision Run USA, I am asking for any and all support right now, and the things that are needed there. Obviously, there's financial support. There's a way to make a donation that's tax deductible. 100% will go to support the run. But in addition to that, your thoughts and prayers are very important. There's also going to be an opportunity for host families. So what I noted was it's going to be hopefully a 60-day run, and each of those 60 days we're going to be looking for host families across the nation to try to link up. And there's a lot of people who have different family in different parts and remote areas of the country. The route should be solidified very soon. And just like I said, keep us in your thoughts and prayers. And visionrunusa.com, you can track the run. It'll start next March.
Awesome. That sounds so cool. I can't wait for that. I'm sure that you can. You still have a lot to do between now and then. But that's really exciting. So thank you so much for being here. And if you'd like to see the full interview, you can get it at runningdenver.com. Everybody, and welcome back. Today we're here with David Manthey. He's the director of the Bear Chase Trail Races and also the owner and director of Runner's Edge of the Rockies. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So for some of our viewers who may not be familiar with Runner's Edge, what do you do there?
So Runner's Edge is a marathon training program, and I say marathon, but we help runners of all experience, all ability. We've got plenty of members who are training for their first 5K, 10K, just getting into it. And then we also have more experienced runners who are, training for longer distance races, half marathon, full marathon, ultra marathon. We have a lot of triathletes in the group as well. But it's a group training program based here in the Denver metro area. And we have over 300 members. And we do long runs on the weekends. We do midweek speed workouts. We just basically try to give everyone an organized, social group environment to train for their races and help them achieve their goals.
Very cool. Okay, great. How can they find out more information about that? Do you have a website or in social media?
Absolutely. Our social media page is fantastic. You can just go onto Facebook and search for Runner's Edge of the Rockies. You can also go to runnersedgeoftherockies.com, and we've got lots of information about our training sessions. We actually just started our 10-week 2015 winter training session, and then as we approach the end of the year, we'll get ready for our spring training session that runs all the way to the end of May.
Very cool. Okay. Great. Well, you obviously know about running and a lot about coaching and things like that, given what you do with Runner's Edge of the Rockies. And now we're kind of in this transition from fall into winter.
Yes.
Where it's getting to be a lot colder. It's cooler even here this morning. And it's cold, especially in the mornings when a lot of people like to get their runs in. What tips would you have for winter running and just running in the cold in general?
Sure. You're absolutely right. The transition period as we get out of summer into autumn and then we move into winter, it's really important that people kind of give their bodies a chance to acclimate and adjust to it. By the time we get around to February, we're a little bit used to that cold weather. We've had several months of it. It's not as important, but I would say right in November, December, we're not quite ready for that yet. So it's a bit of a shock. You walk out the door, it's like, oh my gosh, it's really kind of cold. It does take the body usually about 15 to 20 minutes to really settle into a run and into a workout. So it's important to prepare for that accordingly. Just the same as if you would start a car engine when it's really cold out, you need to give your body ample time to get warmed up. So if you give yourself a little bit of extra time in the morning, and that can even be as simple as I need to go and walk around for 5 minutes before I actually start my run. That's huge because you're actually getting blood flow to the muscles, allowing the muscles to kind of warm up. It'll help make for a much better run, a more enjoyable run. And even just doing some easy stretching, doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend too much time doing a lot of static stretching, but just doing a lot of easy movements, just kind of a dynamic warm up where you're just doing some gravity stretches, doing some leg swings, just kind of marching with some high knees, things like that. Even moving the upper body, it helps to get the blood flow going, and it helps the body to get ready for that run in the colder temperature.
Are there any stretches in particular? You mentioned a couple, or any specific muscle groups, or is it just kind of like all over you should really target?
I always try to do the entire body as much as I can. I mean, especially if you're talking in the morning, you've spent the entire night asleep, hopefully asleep, not tossing and turning too much. But then, you want to start I always try to start from the neck down, and I'll do things like neck rolls and just kind of work out the necks. I'll do a lot of like shoulder shrugs, just kind of open up the shoulders a little bit, because even though we're running on our feet, we're using our entire body to run. So, and then after, as you continue to work down, you can do, just a lot of torso rotations, things like this. You can do some arm swims. The next thing that I really like is just kind of even marching in place, or doing like a lot of high knees, these kinds of things to open up the hips, kind of get the hip flexors going a little bit. You can even do some things like this where you do a little bit like open up the hips this way, and then obviously some easy leg swings like that. That in and of itself just gets the blood flowing, and then you can do some easy gravity stretches where you bend down, touch your toes. You don't have to reach, just hang a little bit. Things like that help. And then if you're someone who's been a little bit more prone to injury or muscle tightness, like in your quads, your calves, your hamstrings, there's nothing wrong with taking an extra 5 to 10 minutes to stretch those particular groups out as well.
So I have a lot of running friends who are anti-stretching, and I know it's kind of a weird kind of a thing, and I'm kind of pro-stretching, but I mean, but when I'm out in the cold, the last thing I want to do is sit there an extra 5 minutes and start doing these stretches, and all I want to do is just get out there and start running. And you always kind of think, oh, if I just start running kind of easy and ease into it, but then I think I kind of find myself picking up speed a little too quickly, and that could lead you to injury. What kinds of injuries might runners come across if they don't prepare?
I would say, for myself personally, I've battled some lower leg injuries a lot throughout my running career, and usually it's tightness in the calves. I actually find that taking the time to realize, hey, I have to stretch, and even if it's a little bit cold outside, if I step outside the door, well, one, I'll try to stretch indoors if I can. Take that 10 minutes, do it inside before you even get outside is certainly going to help. But I do try to start from the top down. Our bodies are a kinetic chain, so starting from the hips, starting from the glutes, working the way down to the lower legs, it's really important to do that. So even though I have had those lower leg injury issues, I'm going to really try to also stretch my upper body as well. So that's important. And by all means, there are certainly people who can step right outside the door. They don't need as much stretching. Myself, especially when it's cold, I'll take that extra 10 minutes. It's just an insurance to my run.
Right, okay. So is there ever a time when it's just too cold out and runners just shouldn't be out? Does it ever get to that level, do you think? And what do you think that level is?
Oh boy. It's actually funny. With some of our Runner's Edge of the Rockies training runs, we have had quite a few where the temps drop below zero. The wind picks up, wind chill's really bad. And it's got to the point where if the wind chill's really, usually what I say is if we start to drop into single digit temps and then the wind picks up, and if it gets below zero, I'm probably going to cancel the run. For safety reasons, I don't want people out there if they're totally uncomfortable. I'm more worried about frostbitten hands, frostbitten toes. We have had runners, no joke, will show up, and even when it's canceled like that, or if it's 20 below, and they've got Vaseline or Aquaphor smeared on their face, and they're bundled up and they're ready to go. So if you're well prepared, and some people are wearing, balaclavas and all sorts of face masks and everything else, if you're prepared for it, you can definitely handle it. I mean, you can go out. I mean, there's people who will go out and they'll gut it out in 30 below temperatures. For me personally, that's where, even though I don't like running on the treadmill normally, I'll go find a treadmill or an indoor track.
Yeah, tell us again your websites and everything so we can come find you.
Sure. So it's runnersedgeoftherockies.com, and or visit us on social media. And anyone if you've never run with us before, come out for a complimentary first time run. Check us out and see what we're all about.
Great. Thank you so much for being here and for those tips. I'm sure it'll help us all out with our winter running. You can see Dave's full interview at runningdenver.com, and right after this, we'll be back with Review Preview. Welcome back to Running Denver TV. Now it's time for Review Preview. First up in Review, the third Pikes Peak Roadrunner race was on November 1st. This 6.5-mile race at Palmer Park was won by Robbie Young for the men with a time of 48:52 and Kieran Toff for the women with a time of 58:23. The Great Candy Run was also this past Sunday at Wash Park. This was the biggest one ever. It was really exciting to be there. The 5K winners included Ryan Poland, who took first place for the men with a time of 15:05, and Claudia Beque for the women with a time of 17:40. In the stroller division, Nick Madsen took first place for the men with a time of 17:19, and Jan Albright led the women with a time of 19:31. That's with a stroller. I would just hope to run a 5K in that time without one. That's pretty amazing. And now for our preview. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, which means it's time for pumpkin pie and turkey, and not just on the Thanksgiving table, but in our races too. The Pumpkin Pie 5 and 10K is the Saturday before Thanksgiving, November 21st, at City Park. All finishers get a custom-made medal and, of course, a slice of delicious pumpkin pie. And if you really want to burn off those calories, you can register both races to get in a 15K that same morning. And if you want to start your Thanksgiving out with the Turkey Trot, you have two to choose from: the Turkey Rock Trot in Castle Rock and the Mile High United Way Turkey Trot in Denver. The Turkey Rock Trot 5K takes off at 9:30 a.m. at the Douglas County Event Center and benefits the Douglas Elbert Task Force. They are also doing a huge food and toy drive along with the race, so make sure you bring your non-perishable or new unwrapped toys with you to donate for the less fortunate. The 42nd annual Mile High United Way Turkey Trot is a 4-mile run-walk in Wash Park that starts at 10 a.m. There's also a quarter-mile family fun run at 11. The Mile High United Way benefits Denver communities by focusing its efforts on the areas of school readiness, youth success, and adult self-sufficiency. The Running Denver TV crew will be at both of those races on Thanksgiving Day. We hope to see you there. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much to our guests and for you for joining us. If you'd like to get more information on Running Denver TV, you can go to our website at runningdenver.com for the full interviews as well as gear and training tips. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.